Good morning. This is Let's Talk Antiques with Max Northcutt. We even got Mr. Ray Pennington with us today. I think he's kin to our Mayor David Pennington there, and I'll let my name be named as Ray Sackler. I better put that in there. And also would like to have our mayor introduce the mayor and the police department from Lynchburg, Tennessee.
All right. Ray, if you don't mind, go ahead and give that number where people can call in.
728-1320.
All right. We have today with us, we got the Honorable Sheriff. Since he's right beside me, I want to introduce him. I asked him this morning. He's the sheriff of Moore County, been there for 29 years. Dang, are you going to break the record and be there 40 or 50 years, or what do you think?
I don't plan on it.
Not okay. And we got the Honorable Mayor, my friend, and the person I got to work with, Sloan Stewart. Sloan, how long have you been mayor?
Since 2009.
All right. Okay, today, we've had this series about the different squares. We've covered Manchester, and we've covered Tullahoma, and now we're going to do Lynchburg down in Moore County. We're going to do the square there. I thought Sloan or Mark, either one, chime in here. Let's talk about some facts about Lynchburg. When it was created and what it was created from. And Sloan, you want to, or Mark?
Well, Moore County was formed in 1871. It's from portions of Lincoln, Franklin, Coffee, and Bedford County. It was named in honor of the late General William Moore. He was an early settler of Lincoln County and a soldier in the War of 1812. Moore County is a small county. On this, it has it listed as about 160 square miles. Some reports say it 130, so anywhere from 130 to 160 square miles of Moore County. Anything you have, Sheriff?
No.
Well,
sound like you got it.
Well,
pegged there.
But it also it started in the 1880s, the early 1880s. They said at one time there was 15 distilleries in Moore County that were registered. So, I mean, that's not counting, Mayor, that's not counting all the bootleggers that might have been out there somewhere, you know it?
It might have been 1,500 counting all of them, I reckon.
But also, Moore County at the time was the economic triangle, and it was the center of it, and it actually had a mule selling business, and well, it was the center of business, and that triangle consisted of Tullahoma on the northeast, Chevyville on the northwest, and Fayetteville on the south. I thought that was kind of unique that Coffee County wasn't into that. It was just those three. And of course, some other facts about it is you did say in 1871 you had a fire there that burned down the original courthouse, and they say that in 1883 they built a new one.
1885.
1885.
Built a new courthouse for $6,875.
And I asked you about that, and you said that all the elected officials are still in that in that courthouse.
Yes.
Which I think is unique.
The courtroom's still upstairs.
Yeah. The elected officials, you mind naming the ones that occupy that?
The mayor's office. You have your circuit court clerk, register of deeds, tax assessor, chancery court, trustee, circuit court clerk, which is upstairs with the courtroom still used up there today.
Mm-hmm. And they said in as early as 1800s that people actually started locating there along the creek. It must be that creek must be pretty doggone good size, because they said that there was several different mills and stuff along that creek. Said most of the businesses was established around the creek side.
Mulberry.
Yeah. And that the actual square, that Mulberry Road, it was off of, that is Mulberry Road that run in front of it. Is that right, Mayor?
Yes. Yes.
And then they say the way the courthouse is set up and the square was kind of patterned after Bedford County. Now, have you ever heard that?
No, I'm not aware of that. But if you sit and look at the resemblance between the two squares, you see a lot of resemblance in them.
Well, I think what we're going to do today, we're going to take off around that square like we've always done at these at Manchester and Tullahoma, and we're going to start, Sheriff, if you're good about directions, coming from Tullahoma. If we turn left into the traffic light, and you're going to locate us on the first building and go around the square there.
Okay, when you turn there left at the red light, you go down. The first business on the corner back when I was growing up was Roy Bobo's Grocery, which since then it's been B&J Grocery and several different things since they left. Right beside it, there was actually.
Sheriff, before you get to the next building, what about that service station there? When you turn left on the right, there's a service station.
Okay,
there.
that was.
Has it always been one?
That was always a service station there. It was run by the James Thomas and his sons. It was a Texaco station, which now, of course, it's Jack Daniel has purchased it for a visitor. It's a welcome center there, and you can go in there and, of course, get information on Jack Daniel in the town square and
you actually got
Chamber
the old
of Commerce.
gas pumps and all that stuff.
All the old pumps are still there.
What about the bays? Are they utilizing that as part of the welcome center? You know,
no, the bays, they actually make Jack Daniel furniture and barrels. They take the barrels and sand them down in there and put the Jack Daniel logo on them. They brand them, do a lot of the branding there and such.
Okay, so we went past the service station, and you already talked about the grocery store. Do you remember going in there as a kid?
Oh, yeah. I was in there several times.
Was that store, was it like the center? Did people from the rural come there and shop, actually grocery shop?
Actually, there was 3 grocery stores in Lynchburg on the square. There was that store there, and then on the lower side of the square, which would be the south side of the square, there was Hills Grocery, which was another pretty good size grocery store, and then there was a smaller one on the east side, which was Burton's Grocery, and I remember going in all of them when I was a kid. But
that Hills store, is that H.G. Hills, or was that?
No. It was a private owned.
Because I know in Oklahoma they had one.
Right, Quinn Hill was the owner. Him and his wife run that store down on the corner. But from Roy Bobo's, there used to be an alleyway right between it and the next business that was up, which now was closed in several years ago. And there's a little coffee shop there now that bought into it.
So that alleyway, do you think at one time, I guess the city of Lynchburg must have owned that, the town of Lynchburg, or?
I'm really not sure.
Because that alleyway was probably a service alley. You know, when all these old towns were set up, they had those service alleys to work those toilets and stuff. You know, people don't think about it because they got modern day plumbing, but they used to work those alleyways. That's where you'd get your coal delivered. They'd work your toilets, you know, all those delivery things come through those alleys.
Well, and it very well could have been, if it was, that was, of course, way before my time. Because when I was growing up, it was just a wide alleyway there that went back into the back parking lot of which is the post office back there behind it.
Yeah. Well, that's another access to the post office.
Right.
Wasn't it?
It was another access to the post office. You had and one that I didn't really remember, I don't remember, is Hayes Feed and Hardware, which I think would have been the next building, but I'm not sure. Copeland's Dry Goods would have been the next one. Of course, he had clothing and shoes and everything like that, because our parents used to carry us in there when we was a kid to buy our school clothes and shoes for the upcoming school year.
Now, with the rural people, is that where everybody would shop?
Oh yes, that was. Was
that like the center?
That was like the center. Most people, they really truly back at that time didn't go to out of town to shop, because Lynchburg in itself had really truly had everything you needed. I mean, they had the dry goods stores, they had clothing. There's 2 clothing stores there. Insurance stores there, 3 grocery stores, hardware stores, and it was all pretty much everything was right there in Lynchburg, so you didn't have a lot of travel time.
You know what I tell people, Sheriff, you know, so like I said, we've already done 2 squares. The squares, to me, reminds me, you know, people goes to malls now to do all their shopping. Well, that's what a square was. It had everything there. It had everything you needed, just like you just said. You know, where people now, they go to a mall and they think that's a big deal, you know, all the different businesses.
Right.
Well, that's what squares had.
Yeah,
and
that's what they all
come
had.
from the rural, and they done all their business. They would do their legal business there, the courthouse. They would do their shopping, like you said, pay their bills. You know, I'm sure that, and their banking. I mean, you're going to get to it. I know there's a bank there. Everything was done, and a lot, like on Fridays and Saturdays. Saturdays probably was a big day for most small towns. That's when everybody came to town.
Right. Everybody did come to town then to cash their checks and things like that.
David, I believe in that alley now that I think that was actually there was a coal shed in that alley. And the original key is hanging in the Chancery Court office. It hangs on the wall, and that's, I believe, the Carl Payne, which was mayor back in the late 80s and 90s, that told us that may have been where the coal shed was. And we've got the key still hanging, marked for the room.
Do you know, was that coal shed, was it the city's, or do you know if it was a private-owned business?
I assume it was the city's.
Okay. Hey, Mark, before we get any farther down the square, I'll tell you something that we probably need to talk about. At one time, before you went Metro, you actually had a city police chief, or I think he called himself the marshal or something, and now you're over all that as the sheriff, but didn't you say that was until 1988? That's how it was?
Yes, until 1988, there was actually a police department where they had, you know, they had their own city judge, had their own administrators and everything. But when in 1988, when Moore County went Metro, of course, that according to the charter that was written, that abolished the police department and city judge and stuff like that.
I'll tell you what, let's take a break and we'll get back and we'll go to that next business that you want to tell us about.
The Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester has been voted as having the best hamburgers in Manchester. Hometown atmosphere, historical memorabilia, and of course those great burgers, salads, chicken, and so much more. It's the Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester. Call in orders at 728-4452. You can also order at the convenient outdoor curb service. Hamburgers are made the old-fashioned way at the Jiffy Burger, Manchester's finest hamburgers. Open 7:30 until 9, Monday through Saturday.
Shelton Lane Antiques in Manchester has over 5,000 square feet of antiques for treasure hunters to explore. They sell vintage clocks, gas pumps, signs, furniture, and glassware. They have over 3,000 vinyl records and a fully stocked 1950-style general store. Owners Harold and Ruby Shelton have been collecting unique items for years, and you can start or complete your own collection today at Shelton Lane Antiques. Open Wednesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at 100 Shelton Lane, just off 16th Model Road in Manchester, Tennessee. Come look around and plan to stay a while at Shelton Lane Antiques, where we sell antiques, but the history is free.
We would like to thank Dr. David Florence for supporting Let's Talk Antiques. See Dr. Florence at 804 Kalon Street in Manchester for all of your medical needs. Call 728-5522 for your appointment today. Most insurances accepted.
Daddy always said that he was wrong for me.
I'd like to apologize to Philip and Keith both for not introducing them. They're our technicians, and we couldn't do without either one of them fellas. And thanks for blocking my face on the camera.
Ray, I think he was only kidding with you on that.
I hope so.
What's that phone number if people want to call in?
728-1320.
All right, 728-1320. All right, Sheriff.
Okay, we're still on the north side of the square. We'll go up to the next one on the corner was Lynchburg Auto Parts, which was run by Bill Eady. He had, you could buy just about anything in there, from screws and bolts to chainsaws and just whatever you needed.
So was it more like a hardware store too?
It was auto and hardware both, really.
Combined?
He had just about everything in there you needed.
Do you know, Sheriff, if did he do block work and head work on cars and stuff? Do you know?
No.
He did?
Did he? Okay. All right, I'm sorry.
Well, Some of it, he had the vat back there for cleaning heads and
Yeah.
so forth.
Yeah.
But I don't
So-
know about turning any down or boring any like heads out. But they did do some small motor
Yeah.
work in the back.
Well, was that the only auto sales that you had there as far as parts?
Yes.
So it was there. We talking early '60s? Is that when you're thinking, or when are
I'm
you?
talking 50s.
50s. So he was there since the 50s. The
I'd
same
say
man.
so.
Do you
I
know?
would say so.
Do you know about when he sold out or quit doing it, or was it when you first got elected sheriff? Was he still there?
Yes, he was still there in 1986.
Okay.
I believe he sold out in the 90s.
In the 90s. Well, evidently, the locals and the rural people must have really done a lot of business with him for him to be able to stay in business all those years. And he probably had that. You know, the thing about individuals that own their own business, they're more personable, with you, and they're willing to go that step further, to help you out, whether it be a car piece or a restaurant or clothing or whatever. That's what I've noticed about people when we talk about these squares. People would go a step further than just sell you an item. And I'm sure that both of you have witnessed that type of business owners, hadn't you?
Oh yeah, up in Lynchburg, most definitely. Of course, Bill Eady was he was a Moore County boy, and a lot of his family are from Moore County, well liked in the community, and a lot of people really liked him and done business with him. They enjoyed doing business with him.
Is he still alive?
No, he's not. He passed away a couple years ago.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, what's our next one, Sheriff?
Okay, if you want to go around the corner from Lynchburg Hardware, or Lynchburg Auto, excuse me, go around the corner, you go up, and there was, of course, the Moore County News was up there, and actually the Moore County News was run by my uncle and aunt, Bobby Murray. My grandfather was the founder of the Moore County News back when it first started.
Do you know about when they started it?
I sure don't.
Okay.
I sure don't. The next business down from, of course, the post office was up there too.
Sheriff, on that Moore County News, when is it still there now?
Yes, it is still there.
Okay, so it must evidently it's been bought out, the news, or is it
Yes,
still
it was
privately held?
No, it was bought out.
Do you know who bought them out?
I think whoever is affiliated with the Tullahoma News
Yeah, okay.
and possibly Manchester Times.
Yeah, I mean they own several. Huh?
They own the Moore County News now.
Uh-huh.
So I believe they do. I wouldn't bank on that, but I think.
Do you
they
know
do.
what year your kinfolks sold out?
Not right offhand. It was in the late 70s, early 80s when my uncle passed away, and they let the business go after that.
Do you know? Did they? In Tullahoma and Manchester, and Max is a witness to this because he done it. They actually sold newspapers around the square, and delivered newspapers to the home. Do you know if
they did then? They had most time had young teenagers with bicycles that would deliver the papers. Matter of fact, one of the unique things about it, Martin's Five and Dime was on the lower side of the square, south side of the square, and he actually, before he opened his business in the morning, he would deliver papers, Moore County News, around Lynchburg, around the city there.
Do you know what day it came out?
It's always come out on Thursday.
On Thursday, okay.
It's always been Thursday.
Don't you imagine there's been some big headlines in that little newspaper?
Oh yeah, big headlines. Now the next business down was the Coffee Cup, and it was run by they called him Chicken Cunningham. His name was actually David. He run that for several years, and I'm not really sure when that went out, but that was really the highlight of going to Lynchburg, getting to go to the Coffee Cup and have a hamburger or something. And on football game nights and things like that, he would actually stay open after the ball games for people to come down to the Coffee Cup and maybe have dinner after a ball game. It was really, really, really neat place to go.
Now, was Sheriff, was he elected sheriff down there, or was he? Is that the same Cunningham, the David?
No, that's a totally different set of Cunninghams.
The one I'm thinking about though, was he a sheriff or was he a town marshal?
Ron, he was a sheriff.
He actually got elected.
Yeah, he actually got elected.
Well, is he kin? Was the Cunningham? Oh, we got a phone
No.
call. Okay, we got a phone call there.
Hello?
So y'all have to.
Go ahead, Tom. Go ahead. Go ahead, caller.
Several years ago, it's been 20 or 25 years ago, here you got some Lynchburg officials there. I was going to Fayetteville and got a speeding ticket the other side of Lynchburg, and I had to go to Lynchburg to pay my fine. And a few days after that, which I didn't appreciate, but I was speeding anyway. And I was told when I was there at the courthouse that the prisoners in that county over there had to pay $5 a day for their stay. Do y'all still do that over there?
Yes, we do.
Well, Coffee County ought to get a lesson from that then, and charge our prisoners.
What year did he get the speeding ticket?
Jail that we have here.
Well, I'm not, I don't know if Coffee County does, but I'm sure as part of a booking fee that Coffee County also has to do that too.
Yeah, if they do, I don't know about it, but if they do, I'd like to know if they had to pay $5.
Right. What year did you get a citation for speeding?
It's been over 20, somewhere around 25 years ago.
Well, Mark, that was on your watch, you know.
I believe it was under my watch.
You've been there 29, so you'd been brand new, though, wouldn't you? Just been in there for about
Yeah,
4
I'd
years.
been brand new and young and really after it. I might have been the one that give you that ticket. Do what, sir?
Thanks a lot.
All righty, thank you.
All right. Do you know where we're at now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, the next one down, which I really don't
Now, we're
remember
leaving
that
the
much
newspaper
about.
Office, is that right? We're leaving the newspaper. Oh no,
No,
the
we're
coffee
leaving.
shop.
We're leaving the coffee cup,
Okay,
and
we're
we're
leaving the
going down the west side of the square. And the next business was Bobo's service station. Now I don't remember a whole lot about it. I was real small when it was in operation. I'm not sure
Where
when
were
it
the gas
left.
pumps? Well, they actually.
I don't even know if they had gas pumps there. I assume they
I
do.
remember the gas pump sitting right out in front, almost
Right.
at the corner of the street.
Yeah. Okay.
And
You know that
coming down
happens.
from the post office.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah.
I remember Manchester Square. There actually were some gravity flows there for sure, and several other different ones.
And the garage bay door is still there today.
Yes, it is still there.
Is it? Do they use the door? I mean, is
No,
it usable
it's-
or is it closed in?
It's privately owned, and Tommy Armour owns it, and he has a it's his personal. He parks his vehicles and motorcycles, but the shop door is still on the
So
square.
the door actually still open there.
Yes, and you can actually, like I said, the gas pumps were out in front, and you can see where the pumps were actually mounted into the sidewalk.
I'll be dog. Ain't that? I mean, that's how it was though. I bet you at one time then they probably had some gravity flow gas pumps before they had the electrified ones. Just a little point about that is, gravity flow gas pumps. Of course, there was no electricity to them. So what you do, you'd pump up. You'd use the handling. You'd pump up air how much you wanted, a gallon, 5 gallon, whatever, up to 10 gallon. But they said when the electric gas pumps come, that people didn't want to use them, so they had to keep some of the old gravity flows because they didn't trust that they was actually getting a gallon because they couldn't see the gallon of gas. So they had to keep some of their old gravity flows to transition into the electrified gas pumps.
David, this isn't too far back in history, but I had a great uncle that run a little country store in Marble Hill, and it was a Texaco station. And I remember as a kid, y'all have to help me out on this. Really, was it in the 70s when gas went to $1?
That's probably 73. That was during that gas.
Anyway,
embargo.
I remember that the big talk was the gas pump only went to 99 cents, and it's like you were saying with the gravity flow, what were they going to do? Gas is going over $1, and the company come down with a magic marker and simply wrote a 1 out in front of it, and then checked and started right back over at 0. So it went to $1.01, but it was a big talk about what are we gonna do?
Well, yeah. They would have never built those gas pumps to thinking there's ever going to be over $1.
So it's kind of like you said it with the gravity flow. People probably thought they was going to get cheated with the electric. But
they absolutely thought they was going to get cheated.
Simple magic marker took care of a gas over $1.
All right, we're going to take a break, and then Sheriff, we're going to get back.
The Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester has been voted as having the best hamburgers in Manchester. Hometown atmosphere, historical memorabilia, and of course those great burgers, salads, chicken, and so much more. It's the Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester. Call in orders at 728-4452. You can also order at the convenient outdoor curb service. Hamburgers are made the old-fashioned way at the Jiffy Burger, Manchester's finest hamburgers. Open 7:30 until 9, Monday through Saturday.
Shelton Lane Antiques in Manchester has over 5,000 square feet of antiques for treasure hunters to explore. They sell vintage clocks, gas pumps, signs, furniture, and glassware. They have over 3,000 vinyl records and a fully stocked 1950s-style general store. Owners Harold and Ruby Shelton have been collecting unique items for years, and you can start or complete your own collection today at Shelton Lane Antiques. Open Wednesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at 100 Shelton Lane, just off 16th Model Road in Manchester, Tennessee. Come look around and plan to stay a while at Shelton Lane Antiques, where we sell antiques, but the history is free.
We would like to thank Dr. David Florence for supporting Let's Talk Antiques. See Dr. Florence at 804 Kalon Street in Manchester for all of your medical needs. Call 728-5522 for your appointment today. Most insurances accepted.
All right, folks, we're back with Let's Talk Antiques with our two wonderful guests from Lynchburg. Remember to call us if you've got anything you'd like to talk about from Lynchburg at 728-1320.
All right. Now, Sheriff, remember what I told you when we first got started? It looks like we're going to have to make this at least a 2-part series and maybe 3 before we get around the square. So...
yeah, we ain't got too far yet.
Lynchburg's bigger than we thought.
How far we got, Sheriff?
We've got one side of the square completed, and I think 2 businesses on the other side. So we're a good ways away.
Yeah, so let's go to our next business.
All right, we're still on the west side of the square, and the next business was Gracie's Beauty Shop, which was run by Miss Evans, and she was there several years. And of course, I think that they went out of business probably in the 80s, mid to late 80s. Been several businesses there since.
Was it always a beauty shop prior to her going out that you remember?
That I remember, it was always a beauty shop.
Do you know why it was named Gracie's? Was that her?
That was her name. Grace Evans was her name.
Okay. Do you know about how many years she actually?
I have no idea.
So,
I remember it being there when I was a kid. And
was there other beauty shops, or was that it?
There was some out in the outlying areas of the county, but that was the only one that was exactly in town.
And I'd say that was a busy beauty shop.
Very busy. It was very busy. And also, the next business right beside it was City Cafe, and they actually owned the City Cafe too, which was a really good place to go for breakfast and lunch and stuff like that.
Was it a meat and 3 type?
It was a meat and 3 type. They had a menu. They'd open around 7 in the morning, close about 5 in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. Really good food there. And it actually come in after the Coffee Cup. I believe after the Coffee Cup closed down.
Do you know how many they seated in that little restaurant?
They could probably seat around 40 or 50, somewhere along in there.
Was it short order too, or just strictly meat and 3?
No, it was short order too.
Okay, so you could actually get a hamburger there too?
Oh, yeah, and a good hot honey bun melted with butter and bacon.
Oh, yeah. We used to
don't get much better than that.
No, it don't. And you know what, though, Sheriff? I guarantee you it was real butter. Not margarine.
Yeah, I'd say it probably was.
You know, margarine to me, I could be wrong, but I think that ain't nothing but grease.
Yeah. I guess, I don't know.
It's colored, but it's colored grease. It looks like butter.
Yeah, it does look like butter, don't it?
Yeah. So did you go in there and get you a hot honey bun?
Every morning I could.
Did
I
they
loved
have
it.
did they have an ice cream machine too, where they'd serve sundaes and stuff?
No, they had dipped ice cream, but they didn't have a machine or anything.
So I guess they were real busy too, right?
Very busy. There was somebody in there all the time. Matter of fact, at that time, they were the only cafe in Lynchburg that you could go in and sit down and eat. So they were extremely busy.
Did you have a counter that people sat at too, or just
no,
all tables?
No, it was all tables. So it was a nice place.
So what year do you think that probably went out of business?
I would say probably in the mid '80s, somewhere along in there.
What's there now? You know?
That's part of the Jack Daniel gift stores that's down through there now.
So it's turned into a gift store.
Yeah,
The beauty shop.
all those down through there are gift stores now.
Okay.
So, Urban's Jewelry was the next business down there, and actually, Urban's Jewelry was he was there at that time when he owned that business. He was our general sessions judge also. So,
so how long do you know how long he stayed in the jewelry business?
I'm not sure when he closed. Of course, he wasn't. Donald Ray was our general session judge when I come in office, and I'm not sure what year Mr. Urban's terms were. Sloan, do you know about when he might have went out of business?
I was thinking he went out in the 80s.
In the 80s?
In the 80s. I'm not real sure, but I was thinking in the 80s.
Was that the only jewelry store in Lynchburg?
Yes.
So did he do repairs too, like the watch repair and that type of stuff like most jewelry stores? Do you know?
I think what he done was he would take them in and he would send them off.
Oh, okay.
Mail order, more or less, having things repaired. And he had a lot of things made for people that he would send off, custom made. Matter of fact, my father was sheriff in Moore County, and also my uncle was sheriff there. And both of their badges come from Urban's Jewelry, and it was actually back when they used real material.
Do you still have them, Sheriff?
I still have those badges, and they're actually real gold and silver, not plated
stuff. Now, though, there's companies that do it, and like you said, they're just plated.
Oh, yeah, they're just plated things.
That's something. Do you know what years you're...
My dad was sheriff in the early 60s, and my uncle was sheriff prior to him, which would have probably been late 50s, maybe 60, 61, somewhere along in there. I remember I was in the 4th grade when my dad was sheriff. I think it was 1964.
Did he stay more than one term?
No, back then it was 2-year terms, and he didn't stay even complete that, because actually he went to work at Jack Daniel, because back then, being the sheriff, you just didn't make a whole lot of money, and there was 5 of us boys at home, so it was really, really tough trying to take care of a family off of what the sheriff made there.
You know, and you can only do, was it 2-year terms, and then you had to set out a term?
True, yeah.
And then you could go back again. I know that Dan Daniel done that several times.
Right. Well, I know Thomas Wiseman, when he was sheriff in Moore County, he would set out and actually let his wife run. And of course, they would elect her, and of course he still run it, but they would elect her, and then when her 2-year term was up, he'd turn around and run again, and get reelected. So, actually, between him and his wife, he was sheriff for 20-something years.
He still don't hold. I think you're probably the longest running sheriff, aren't you?
Yeah, I believe I've got the record now. Yeah, I think Mr. Wiseman around 22 or 24 years.
29, you up there. So when you finish your term, which is another 3 years, so does that mean you'll have 33 years? Or
32 years.
32, okay.
Right, 32 years. I'm second in the state right now.
Second in the state. Who's the first?
Sheriff up in Weakley County is number 1. He's actually got a term ahead of me.
That's it, though. One term.
Yeah, just one term ahead of me.
And now, like you said, terms now, when you talk terms, are 4-year terms, not 2-year terms.
Right.
They're 4 now.
That actually changed in 1986 when I was first elected. That they changed it from 2-year terms to 4-year terms, and actually you can run as many terms as you want to, unless there's private city or county ordinance that's adopted some special legislation to prevent it. I know Shelby County, you can only run so many terms as a sheriff in Shelby County.
So there's term limits?
In Shelby County there is. In Shelby County, because they probably got a private act that allows that.
All right, so now where are we at next?
We was at Urban's Jewelry, and we go down below it, which used to be Evans Pool Room. That the Evans people that owned the restaurant and the beauty shop, that was their son that owned the pool room, which it's gone now, and that's actually where the gazebo sits.
Pool room, was it there a long time? Do you know?
Several years. I remember it from a little boy up
Did the
till...
son started, or was there somebody before him?
I think his son started. I believe it was more or less a storage building until his son started putting pool tables and game machines and things in it. Of course, back then there wasn't anything much of electronic games, but you had the board games and things like that you could go in there and play as a kid. And I think it stayed in operation probably 75, somewhere along in there that it stayed open.
Well, that's when back then you could play pool for a dime. I remember growing up in the 60s. You could play all the pool you wanted for a dime a game.
Right.
And on a real pool table, not these bar type tables. There's a big difference in them. And it costs what, 50 cents or $1.25? I don't even know what it costs.
I don't even know what it costs anymore. It's been so long since I played.
Tables, that's what you see in most of these places now. It's not the old pool tables where you actually rack them up.
Yeah, you slip the quarters in, they fall out, and then you rack them up.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's some places that still have the old tables. Okay, you ready to go further?
I think so. Have we covered that pretty good?
I think we got that one.
I guess I could ask you one more question about it. Do you know when he did close up, what happened to a lot of times families would buy those old pool tables to carry them home. Do you know what happened to them?
I have no idea what happened to them. That is another piece of property that Jack Daniel bought after they closed down and they built a gazebo.
They lease it. It's on a 99-year lease.
Oh, it is?
Yes. And the gazebo was put in the corner in the mid-'80s. I believe it was. I think the gazebo was built sometime in the mid-'80s.
Do you know how many pool tables was in that pool room?
I think there was 4.
4 pool tables?
Yeah, I believe it was 4. I remember going in there playing when I was a little boy.
All right, I'll tell you what, let's do. Believe it or not, we got to take another break. You have talked us into one more break.
All right.
The Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester has been voted as having the best hamburgers in Manchester. Hometown atmosphere, historical memorabilia, and of course those great burgers, salads, chicken, and so much more. It's the Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester. Call in orders at 728-4452. You can also order at the convenient outdoor curb service. Hamburgers are made the old-fashioned way at the Jiffy Burger, Manchester's finest hamburgers. Open 7:30 until 9, Monday through Saturday.
Shelton Lane Antiques in Manchester has over 5,000 square feet of antiques for treasure hunters to explore. They sell vintage clocks, gas pumps, signs, furniture, and glassware. They have over 3,000 vinyl records and a fully stocked 1950s-style general store. Owners Harold and Ruby Shelton have been collecting unique items for years, and you can start or complete your own collection today at Shelton Lane Antiques. Open Wednesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at 100 Shelton Lane, just off 16th Model Road in Manchester, Tennessee. Come look around and plan to stay a while at Shelton Lane Antiques, where we sell antiques, but the history is free.
We would like to thank Dr. David Florence for supporting Let's Talk Antiques. See Dr. Florence at 804 Kalon Street in Manchester for all of your medical needs. Call 728-5522 for your appointment today. Most insurances accepted.
Okay, folks, we're back for the last segment, and we'd like to say we've enjoyed what we've heard so far, and we're realizing Lynchburg's bigger than we thought.
A whole lot bigger, isn't it, Ray?
Right.
What's that phone number?
728-1320.
All right. All right, Sheriff.
I guess we'll go back behind the old pool room. We'll go back to one of our great landmarks is the Harrison's Funeral Home, which was at that time was the only funeral home we had, and I'm not really sure when that business started. It went out of business probably 90s, mid-90s, somewhere along in there. It went out of business. Of course, it's been bought now by some other people. But Mr. Harrison, I guess he probably handled every funeral in Moore County for 50 years, I'd say. Maybe longer, I don't know. I'm not really sure when they started.
Mark, what about the funeral home? Did he have one of those horse-drawn hearse?
I do not know if he did. I never did see one. And actually what they done also was back before there was ambulance services, they run their hearse as an ambulance for years before there was ever an ambulance service come in.
Yeah, they actually, now, didn't you at one time work for the EMA service too or something? Or
I spent 8 years with the ambulance service.
Well, so there's a big difference between them, and of course they did that in Coffee County too, Mark.
Right.
Well, I guess all counties done it. I was told that basically what they would do is just pick you up and run you to the hospital and hope that you don't die.
That's exactly what they do. If it was, as long as they had somebody to help them put them on the cot and get them in the back of the old hearse off to the hospital, they went.
So they
got there the best way they could.
They didn't have no way to stabilize them like you can. I know that when you work a wreck or accident, you try to stabilize the patients before you moved them, didn't you?
Right.
But they didn't. They just
that was a grab and go.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, that was a grab and go.
That was better than the other option.
It was that. I remember back when my dad was sheriff, we at that time, you know, the sheriffs lived in the jail. Well, we lived in the jail for a little while. Of course, we had a farm also, but Mr. Harrison had this old, big old English bulldog. Well, that big old bulldog, he'd go out every morning and get Mr. Harrison's paper. He had him trained to come out and get his Tennessean for him and bring it back in the house. Well, us kids, we got to noticing that. And, of course, Mr. Harrison, he'd just laugh about it. He was a great guy. But I don't know how many newspapers that bulldog carried him one day that we kept giving that bulldog.
So every time you gave him one, he would carry it in?
Every time we give that bulldog a paper, he'd take it in to Mr. Harrison, Mr. Charles. Of course, he just laughed about it. He knew what we was doing. But we throw newspapers at that dog all day long. That was a lot of fun.
Good.
So you're thinking that business had to be at least 50 years old?
I'd say so, maybe longer. I really and truly don't know how old that business was.
Yeah.
We will try to find out before we do our next segment.
Yeah, that'd be good. All right.
So going from there, we're going to go across the street to, which was the county building, which handles the school and such. I'll let the mayor elaborate on that.
Yeah.
That is our only other county annex building. We have our voter registration office in it, soil conservation, our purchasing department, our UT extension agent, and then in the back is going to be our school director and his office. And then downstairs we have our archives, and then we have some more of the school offices downstairs, and there's a conference room inside of it. And that, like I said, we have the courthouse, and in the county building is our government annex buildings in the county. So, Sheriff, we'll move on down to
we going down to the old Moore County Jail.
Before we do that, you was talking about schools. I read something on Wikipedia about your school system. You had two school systems down there, and that's what I was trying to find here. One was, here it is. One was called the Lynchburg Male and Female Institute, and the other one was called Normal School. You remember them?
No, that's before my time. I just remember an elementary school and a high school.
Well, that was kind of when the school was formed, though. I mean, when the county, 1871.
Now, I do remember out in the county that each community did have a school. You had Marble Hill, you had Lois. Did you have one in
Charity?
Charity.
Well,
the old country schools. There's one out around Pleasant Hill.
Yeah, Buckeye.
A lot of those buildings are still standing.
Are they in? A lot of times they turn them into community centers and stuff. The community would take them over.
I'm not sure if any of them's in the community center or not, but there's still some of the buildings.
Is Herdlow in Moore County?
Yes, it is.
Yes, the school.
Is that school building still there?
Still standing, yes.
You know, in the 30s, Roosevelt started, he wanted to have school systems where kids could be educated all over. So he took a specific building and they called it a model. They built that building just a certain way. And in Coffee County, they had several of those model school buildings, like 16th model, 4th model, Max, some of that. But I don't know. I don't guess those. Reckon are those school buildings? Do they look basically alike? Or were they part of the Roosevelt school building program? Reckon.
I don't think any of them actually looked alike.
Okay.
I don't know how they come about.
Well, these here in Coffee County actually were, part of that program, and they were called models because they took that one particular model and built all the schools just like it. It was simple to build and quick.
No, these
are all different.
These are all different.
So you had several rural schools.
Yes, yes.
Were they like just? Do you know if they were just elementary, or did they even go up to high school? Some of them. Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know. I had an aunt that taught in the Lois school, and I'm not sure how far up that went.
Now, your high school, you do have one high school there?
Yes.
Do you know how long it's been there then? When we're talking about the school system?
1973.
That's the new building.
That's the new building. Yes.
Okay. So back prior to 73, they must have had a building somewhere for high school.
It's where the elementary school is located now. It's just a block off the square.
Okay, so they actually had, those were probably either elementary and middle type school classes. Like when you'd go to those rural schools like that, they might teach 3 grades. First, second, and third with the kids. It's not like it is nowadays. Well, Keith, what are you saying? We only got
3 minutes.
Well, we ain't getting too far. We better get to the old jail, and I don't know. We might have to come back to the old jail after.
If it's okay, before we get started on the old jail, I'd like to go back and recap.
Okay.
Some things
let's
here.
Get to jail later then,
Roy Bobo's Grocery now is, of course, the Lynchburg Harley Davidson. The Hayes Feed and Hardware is probably going to be the Southern Perks, which is a little coffee shop down there. Copeland's, there's Ladies Handicraft there and a pottery store. The Lynchburg Hardware store that used to be there, it's now a Judy's Leatherware. Of course, Moore County News is still there. The Coffee Cup has just been purchased. They're actually putting in a winery.
Who purchased that?
In there. Mayor, do you know who purchased that?
Oh, so it's privately held?
It's private. It's just called Lynchburg Winery. And I'm not sure actually who the owner is.
Yeah, there's not many buildings that are still privately held, is there?
Very few.
Yeah.
Very few.
Go ahead, Sheriff.
Okay, you go down from the Coffee Cup, go down to Bobo service station that used to be there. That is another one of the Jack Daniel gift shop businesses, and of course, it's privately owned. On down, you got Sully's, which is also a gift shop.
Jackie's Gifts.
Yeah, Jackie's Gifts. That whole side over there. That whole side over there now is primarily Jack Daniel gift shops
Sheriff,
and such as that.
He was talking about Sully. He was there for many years, wasn't he?
Many years.
Of course, he's passed away now.
Right.
Does his family still have it, the building and business, or do you know?
The family still owns the building, and it's leased out.
Oh, okay.
It's leased out, and it's a Jack Daniel souvenir shop. Has a lot of the Jack Daniel commemorative bottles. In it.
So, are we close to the jail yet?
We're down the corner. Of course, there's a gazebo there where the old pool room used to be, and Harrison's Funeral Home is privately owned now.
Yeah.
And there's not really anything in it right now that they were talking about maybe putting some offices and such as that in it, but I don't know. Now, I do know back a little while ago they had turned it into a haunted house for some sort of event down there.
Well, what better?
But that's pretty much it as far as we got right now.
Well, we'll have to. It's going to be another show or two, at least one more, maybe two, before we get around Lynchburg. Now, we only got it maybe less than a minute, but think about this, guys. We're talking about we thought was a small square.
Exactly.
It's not too small, is it?
No.
All right. We're going to get out of here, ain't we?